Hola, welcome to Financially Savvy in 20 Minutes, a bilingual podcast that shares interviews with self-made millionaires, financially savvy investors, and all things financial literacy and dinero. Your host, Natalie Torres, is a two-time TEDx speaker and award-winning author, investor, and financially savvy Latina that has been featured on NBC, Telemundo, and Forbes as a financial literacy and mental health advocate. She is joined by her co-host, Vera Eagley, an author, investor, and seasoned insurance professional. Hello, and welcome to Financially Savvy in 20 Minutes. I am doing a solo one today. I miss you already, Vera. Her and I have been doing so much planning and so much getting ready for these upcoming recordings. The ones we just did, it's excited because we just constantly get inspired by these people and hear their stories and where they are now. And many of them we've known for years. So to see their journey, to be a part of their journey has also been such a blessing in disguise. But today I decided to record halfway through an abundance challenge by Gabby Bernstein. And one of the things that really resonated with me today when I was meditating is I've been doing a lot of these routines on my own as far as self-reflection and just trying to manifest and doing things that I know have been helpful. But it's also really encouraging when you hear someone else's story. And it's also extremely helpful when my mind is going, it feels like 1,000 miles an hour, thinking of so many projects. And that's what's happening too. I just finished up Financial Literacy Month. And that's always, for those of you know, it's one of my busiest months. And now being able to have an opportunity to just take a pause and breathe and still in the mix of things, right? I'm just closing up a lot of projects and starting new ones and the ones that are still going before the next busy season. And so I wanted to do this episode because I think about what am I doing in between and what am I doing that's still fun as opposed to the administrative stuff or the stuff that most of us hate doing. I say hate so strongly, but it's not hate. It's just, I think for me, it comes up with different things like the frustration of all the little details, right? The minute stuff that I've never been an expert on. And for those that also have the challenge of English being your second language, I can't always use it as an not a resource or not a resource, an excuse or a reason. I know for me, it's very real. And at times I forget to be more patient with myself and have more grace with it. I mean, it's a superpower for me as well, right? Being able to speak more than one language. The thing is, when we are speaking more than one language, when our brain thinks in more than one language, it pops up a lot of, for me, sometimes self-doubt, and just recently had a few conversations on, grammar, things that I know I tend to overlook. And it's not because I don't care. Sometimes I just really don't have the time. And now with AI, it is making it a little bit easier. However, it is transforming my voice into a very different voice. And so I have to be conscious about that and still have to do some of the work, right? A lot of people think, oh, I just do AI and that's it. But I'm like, for me, I'm still wanting to authentically sound like myself. And I say it brings up a lot of doubt sometimes or my confidence isn't as great as it should be, or I wish it could be, or once again, I need to be more patient with myself is because of that. I never had just one language that I was very much immersed in. And so for those that know, English as a second language also means you don't start learning how to read and write at a certain age. For me, by third grade is when I first started actual classes on how to speak English. All my classes had an option to start off Spanish. My parents really did think they were going to move back to El Salvador after the war. Being able to speak both languages was very important. My mom was already fluent in English too, because she studied abroad here in the States. So that was obviously a big opportunity and an advantage that my family had with my mom knowing the language as opposed to my dad having to start from scratch as an adult. And so for me at home, we spoke nothing but Spanish. At home, it needed to be Spanish because my dad wanted to make sure we all learned the language too, right? And my mom knew that we could speak English outside the house. So it was definitely always having that conversation. And then in college, I started really immersing myself in French because I was going to go study abroad, and I did, and I lived there. And so it always stuck with me. And then, being married to an Arabic family, guess what? Another language, right? And then with our baby, it's like sign language. So multiplying my languages and it's a superpower, yes. But once again, I say it's also because I also miss things all the time. And now I look back sometimes and I'm like, oh, I meant to say this, but I said it backwards. And for those that speak English and Spanish know what I'm talking about. So for example, if you're saying the yellow banana in English, in Spanish, it's the opposite. You would say the color after, right? So in Spanish, you wouldn't say, oh, yellow banana, like amarillo banana, it's banana amarillo. And so, thinking backwards can also mess up when you're trying to send a proper email, a proper, writing up something. And I love to write. Those that know me, I write journals, I write books. And for me, I love it when I get to co-write and have editors and all that, because it helps me in that sense, right? And it helps me hopefully grow more. But oftentimes when I do have to do things on my own, it takes me twice as long and it messes with my head. I've been working on this presentation for a project, and I got that self-doubt again where I was like, I just didn't want to do it. It got so frustrating. It wasn't even a 16 slide. It was very easy, but a lot of work because there's a lot of new detail work that I'm putting in there. And luckily having that conversation with my mentor, who's more than twice my age. Oh yeah, twice my age, said, you know what? You don't have to be perfect at it. You have certain resources, use those, use the people that are there to help you, and give yourself that grace, especially being a mom, right? Especially a mom to a toddler, especially a new parent, those things that I'm still very hard on myself. So it means a lot when I get a moment to reflect on that. And today I thought I'd do something a little different with this podcast. Vera and I always have that lovely interaction. I love speaking with her, or when we have guests. And when I get a chance to do something solo, it's usually not just on the whim, but it's also, I think, because it needs to be put out there. And so I wanted to do this particular episode a little short, a little sweet, and just to it, to give you the confidence if you're thinking about continuing podcasting or writing or whatever it is, a form of communication that you use. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't be afraid to not make it perfect. Now we do have those resources. You have people in your corner that are there to help you, and do something fun to help you just get out of it. And I love today's morning meditation with that challenge was like, oh, I need to create more fun because that's when I'm more aligned with what I want. And so I said, hey, podcasting has always been fun for me. I can't believe it. It's been 11 seasons. And I think about where I was then and where I am now, and what a journey it's been and what a journey ahead we have, and especially with all these new tools that did not exist before, which is really strange at the same time. I still have my little first recording machine. Shout out to Danny Pena, who did an episode with me when I first starting out. He's a guru and really literally a Hall of Famer in podcasting, the podcasting world. And he still gave me the motivation and inspiration to do it. And we did it when I first started out. And I'm thinking about all the people along the way that have gotten me here, but also understanding that I'm still growing, and I hope I always will be growing. And I hope I understand that it's okay to have that grace and to be proud of where I am today too. And so that's one thing I had to remind myself. I got this, constructive criticism from a team member, and then my mentor gave me very helpful constructive criticism. And I remember walking away from that call thinking, okay, I can use that. I can use it to make me feel bad, because there was moments where I did feel bad. I was kind of like not ready to cry, but I felt like that little kid learning how to speak another language in class. And I had great teachers. I was lucky, but I do remember in third grade really struggling to read a basic book when these kids had been reading since kindergarten or more, right? And English not being their second language. And it was myself and one other student that made it to that switch over. You have to take these tests, you have to go through these, and for me, I was lucky that I got to do the switch, but it also meant now we were the two slowest ones in the class, right? And I think I reverted back to that, and I still do, where I'm like, oof. And so when people tell me that I'm a really great presenter and I have no fear up there talking, and it's true, I feel like I'm talking a one-on-one to, it doesn't matter if it's 100 people or 1,000 people. The reason is because I think I've spent so much time with my public speaking skills that it made it so much easier to do that. And I still write out my speeches. I still have that outline. I still practice all these things. However, it comes a lot more flowing. It's easy for me. I don't overthink it. And I just say what I'm feeling at the same time. When it comes to writing, or like I said, more of the detail side, I am a lot harder on myself, and it takes me much longer. So I'm learning to still feel that challenge, but I'm also learning to be more graceful with what I want to do. And so slowing down, having that time to reflect is really critical. I wanted to use this as a moment to keep inspiring myself as well as others that this is all part of the process. It's fun. It has to be fun, because then you just don't want to do it. And sometimes we just don't have the time to do what we really would like to. And oftentimes when people are like, oh, that's what you put out into the world, or that's the content you just created, and why didn't you, take, 12 months to do this? Or why didn't you, like some people really do. And kudos to them, because sometimes they bring out this really beautiful piece of artwork. And yet sometimes that's all they'll pull out, or it takes them that long and it turns out they hate podcasting, or they're not good at it, or whatever reason it might be. And for me, I'm the type, that I have to be in it to try it and see if I really like it. And if I do, I'm going to continue doing it. And I have to pivot with things that change. And at the end of the day, I have to ask myself, not only does it bring me joy and does it make me happy, does it make me money? Does it make me feel like I am in my purpose and my element and helping others? But I also have to remind myself that there's going to be moments that I have to just pause and sit with it and see how it does change and pivot. I've been recently posting more on social media, especially on my Instagram, which I normally have my moments that I do, but last year of 2025, I only posted 6 times because I was going through so much stuff with our own family stuff, everything that was just, dealing with the new baby. And during that time, I still had time to reflect. I still had time to focus on what meant something to me. And I still had a very lucrative, helpful, great year, actually, in a sense that I didn't have to be working at it so hard. And sometimes we just have to let that happen. It flows to us when we least expect it and it happens, right? You're like, oh, I'm not going to call it. I'm not going to call that. I'm not going to call, not going to call because I keep pursuing something or chasing something. And then the moment I stop doing that, guess what? It shows up, right? Or there goes that call or there goes that text. And it's like, okay, I've been waiting for that. And I think for many of us, we're very ambitious. We know a lot of us have made things happen because we get to work and get it done. And we're like, well, I work smart enough, I can get it done, right? But sometimes it doesn't always work out that way. And for me, I need to let more of that in. And it's been wonderful when I have. And it's been great to be able to exercise this type of abundance being brought into my life because it comes in so many different forms, not just, the monetary side or the spiritual side, but in every aspect of my life. And so this podcast was created so many, many years ago. Oh my gosh. Because I wanted to not just have a voice for others, but to give a voice to those people. I also knew I had a lot to say on not just what I've seen through the thousands of people I've met, the clients I've had, the work experience I've had, education and everything that has brought me to where I am. But I knew I could be part of this bigger purpose. And sometimes we're so like, oh, I got to be the best at this, or I got to be the first at this, or I got to make this amount of money, that we forget why we did it in the beginning. And sometimes I get so excited when I meet people that I haven't physically met, I literally met just people in person now from events again. And this amazing person, I'm going to actually have her on the podcast as well. She said we were sitting at the same table and I was explaining who I was as I was the keynote for the day. And I did once again, humbled myself down and not really talk about who I was because the person next to me hadn't heard of me, which is fine, right? But, I was the speaker of the day. And so she jumps in. I've never met her before. And she was from another part of the country. And she was like, oh my gosh, I've been following you for 10 years. And she's a big deal. And she just went off and bragged for me, which made me feel wonderful and very just shy at the same time. And I looked at her like, oh my gosh, that's the nicest thing, I've heard in a while, at least in person, right? And when you meet real life people like that is really cool. And what brought me the inspiration was that's the person I'm talking to. It's not about always having to reach everybody. It's reaching that person that needed to hear it. And what she said to me was actually very inspiring for me. And I thought this is why I love having these type of platforms to bring that light for, she happened to be Latina. And I told her, yeah, when I started this, there wasn't any Latina podcasters that, let alone doing bilingual work. And second, doing under 20-minute content. Now, even some of my mentor podcasters, they've switched their content creation to under 20 minutes. And so when you're doing something right, because you happen to know your audience, and that's something Vera and I always are so excited about what we do, is we make it a purpose to feel like, how would we do things because we started doing this? And why do we continue to do it? And not because we are trying to hit a specific goal or meet the standards or be like everyone else, but it's something that we want to leave a footprint, a very small little one, for someone else that needs that first step. And it is scary when you're the first to do things. It is scary when no one knows what you're talking about. For years, I'm like, oh yeah, I teach financial literacy. And people are like, what is that? And then for years, I'm like, oh, I'm a podcaster. And they're like, what is that? And so you start thinking, am I doing the right thing when no one else around me is doing this? And when all of a sudden I feel like more and more I hear, oh, I'm a podcaster, I'm doing this now. It's so exciting. And then it's also reassuring that I can still fulfill what I want to do. And when you meet little kids, I love this. I just had a series of workshops that I was doing with kids. They are not afraid to try something they've never tried before. They're not afraid to make it up as they go, and they have fun with it. And that was a reminder I needed too, where I'm like, oh, I used to have so much fun doing this. Just trying something. And if it sticks, great. If it doesn't, oh well. And even this morning, I've been going back and forth with the co-creator on this other project we're working on. And it's actually a project that took me years to do and then stopped for many years and getting back on it. And that's how it happens. So for those of you like, oh, I started, I did actually know a few people that started a really great podcast, had maybe their first season out or the first few episodes, and then never heard anything ever again from them. And a lot of them repicked up and say, hey, it's because you told me that, it doesn't have to be perfect and I can go back. And now I know something different that I didn't know then. And as I go along, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to learn new things. I'm going to mess up all the time and figure as we go. And as I stay true to what I set out to do, and then stay true with what my team set out to do, I think makes it so much more fun and allows other people to do the same. And I think when we shut out the rest of the world, the noise, the voices, and what we see on social media and comparing ourselves to what they're doing, it takes away that joy. And so my point today was just give yourself the grace, look at what your superpowers are and maybe what your kryptonite might be with it, and understand that it's not forever. It's something that you work with. And if it is a trauma or if it is something that you're always going to struggle with, I don't think I'll always struggle with, well, like I said, I do see it more of a superpower being multilingual, but I know there's going to be times where I might revert back to that little girl still trying to figure that out or feeling not good enough in this particular English language, right? Whatever language I'm doing it, right? I get it from all sorts of places. People are like, you speak the language, oh, but not very well. And it's like, and then in my mind, I'm like, but you think I only speak one language. That's a big difference. And compared to most people that really just only know one, and not a very good one either, if I might say. So I hope all of you hear this that needed to hear it. And it's not meant for anybody else that doesn't need to hear it. This is really meant for myself, a recording that I thought I'd do, whether I would publish it or not, or Vera thinks it's good enough to publish too. But because sometimes we need that reminder. We're halfway through the year, and oftentimes I know I do it, or I'm like, I didn't do half of the things I already wanted to do, or I'm planning for the last part of the year. And it's really crazy to think that. I was looking at my calendar. I'm like, today I was like, oh no, even, going back and forth with my agent, I'm like, that first 2 weeks is already booked. How is that possible? Which is great. It's a great, great problem to have. But it also brings this anxiety of like, it's happening. I need to, gather my thoughts and make sure it's still fun, but it's achievable and all these things that I don't overextend myself because it happens. Sometimes I'm like, oh, it's a long way. I can do back to back, or I can travel and have a day off here and then 2 here. And then it's like, it becomes so nonstop. And with a baby, I am making so many more different decisions in that capacity. And so I look forward to being able to do that. And a shout out to Gabby Bernstein again. That's part of another thing. I would love to have her on my podcast because I really enjoyed seeing her live. I got to see her at the Wiltern in LA. Thanks to Cynthia Rivas. A shout out to her who for years invited me to go with her to the live event. She even went to New York to see her. She's here from LA. And every year, for some reason, I couldn't make it. And it hurt me because she gave me the first book I read, which is The Universe Has Your Back, which I loved. And thanks to Cynthia, she was always like, you should go. She's awesome. She's my acupuncturist Reiki and Reiki healer. And it made sense. So she's like, you have to go see her. Right. And then this year I was like, oh my gosh, it popped up not even like a month before. I was like, wait, she's here in LA. I need to go. And then I asked her and she's like, no, I'm going to be out of the country. And I'm like, great. So I went on my own. So anyhow, thank you for that. I loved being in that presence, and I hope all of you get to do the same and enjoy this podcast. It's not just about making money, but having that confidence to do what you love to do as well. To learn more about the podcast, follow us on Instagram at FinSavvy in 20 minutes and catch our interviews on YouTube. If you want to become a sponsor, hire us for your next workshop or speaking engagement, reach out to us at financiallysavvyin20minutes.com or send us a DM. All it takes is 20 minutes out of your day to become financially savvy.